Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the Therapy Appointment 2.0 virtual tour. We are so excited to host you for this open house, and we thank you for being part of our community. As we let folks trickle in, we're going to show you a quick video of what you can expect today during the tour. And afterwards, Bill, our founder and CEO, will give you a tour of Therapy Appointment 2.0 and his favorite features. After Bill is done, we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for our Q&A. So if you have questions, please feel free to enter them into the panel in your screen, and we will take questions at the end. So without further ado, we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Bill Whitehead. When I was in private practice myself, I became really frustrated with the paperwork and the phone tag. It was keeping me late at work every day. I tried hiring a front office person to help out, but that wasn't the best use of her time either. So I started automating the tasks instead. And this evolved into Therapy Appointment, the first online practice management system for mental health professionals. That was a decade ago. And now we're proud to announce Therapy Appointment 2.0. It is by far the most comprehensive practice management system available today. Everything is different in Therapy Appointment 2.0. We have 10 years of feedback from customers about how to make it better, and we think we've made every aspect of it better. There's better scheduling, we have a better user interface, a better communication system for large offices, a patient portal that's much more intuitive, better tracking of insurance. We redesigned it from the ground up. We intend to continue to develop Therapy Appointment, always trying to make your job easier. With the industry's best customer support, Therapy Appointment 2.0 will reduce your costs and increase your job satisfaction. I promise, if you provide the therapy, we'll provide the rest.
Welcome to all of you. I appreciate your attending this sneak peek of Therapy Appointment 2.0. I want to emphasize that that's exactly what it is, just a sneak peek. It's in no way intended to be a tutorial for the new system. We're going to have plenty of support available to you as you transition from the old system to the new system, by the way, on your own schedule. So without further ado, let me start sharing a little bit of what Therapy Appointment 2.0 looks like. All right, so we are now on the dashboard. The dashboard is the landing page for Therapy Appointment 2.0. So as soon as you log in and complete that process, you'll end up here. And let's take a quick look at some of those features. We have obviously a menu over here on the left. Here's where you'll ask for help, either by contacting our technical support through a ticket system, or by watching a library of help videos that we'll have available for you. This is obviously the name of the practice here, and this is, by the way, where you would log out if you needed to do that. But let's take a look at the dashboard itself. The dashboard in Therapy Appointment 2.0 is intended to let you know all the things that you might want to attend to that day. So it's thinking a lot for you and answering the question, what should I be concerned about today? For example, we have today's appointments listed. We have some appointments in the near future that have not been confirmed, so you might want to give them a phone call to confirm their appointments. Here's an appointment that I should have charted on but forgot to, and a whole list that I started charting but haven't locked yet. This one we'll talk about in just a moment. I also wanted to point out that we will also call to your attention automatically expiring treatment plans, expiring insurance authorizations, so that you're never caught by surprise by either of those two events. You can take a quick overview of your accounting and drill down into that if you wish. And you can look at the status of claims. In particular, you have a claim scrub here that if we notice that there's a claim that has some missing information, we can call that to your attention there. So I'd mentioned that we were going to look at one of these in more detail, the charts requiring your review. So in this practice that I've set up for myself, I have assigned an intern to this practice. So the intern has created this chart note, and this is what the intern charted and completed. And now this intern, who's been assigned as my supervisee, has asked me to review the note. I have several options here. I could say, hey, that's a great note. I'm going to approve it and sign. Or I could, by typing information here, give information back to the intern, allow the intern to make changes to the notes, and the intern would then pass it by me a second time for my approval. Let's just say that we like this. I sign it, save it, and that is that. So another page that you will be visiting a great deal is the My Schedule page. Quite a colorful page, as you'll notice. What you'll also notice about this page is that it's in layers. We have an appointments layer that I'll turn off here, and we have an availability layer. This layered system also, by the way, allows you to add additional layers. One of those might be holidays. Yet another one that you'll be excited about is overlaying your Google Calendar from your own private practice onto the screen. So it would just appear as yet another layer to your calendar. You're also able to export your therapy appointment calendar onto your Google Calendar or iCalendar by clicking another button here and following through with that process. Of course, that calendar that would be exported to your Google Calendar will be appropriately de-identified, not showing actual patients' names. So getting back to that calendar, let's look at some other features here. We notice that we have some in green. Those have already been charted upon and locked, and some in blue that have not yet been charted upon. Let's say this one client has decided that they can't make it in by 8, but they can make it by 9. To change that, you simply drag it down to the new time slot, let go with your mouse, and it's just that easy. You can also extend the time of an appointment quite easily by grabbing the bottom edge of it. Now it's become an hour and a half long instead of 1 hour. You'll also notice that in terms of the availability layer, we have some that are in blue and some available hours which are in green. In this practice that I've set up, I have 2 offices, a main office. Those availability hours are in blue. My secondary office is in green. So as a therapist or as office staff, I'm permitted to schedule outside of those hours. But my clients can only schedule the available hours as they're indicated on the screen, unless, of course, they give you a phone call. So that's another major improvement to Therapy Appointment 2.0, that we now support multiple office locations in a much more sophisticated way than in the old version. Patients can be restricted to just one office or can schedule from multiple offices, as we'll see in just a moment. Let's move on to some alternate calendars. This is the week at a glance. You can also look at a month at a glance or a day at a glance. But week is probably where most of you will live most of the time. We also have an alternate calendar made particularly for complicated offices where the therapist may not be interested in seeing anything other than what they need to do today. So on this today's schedule, the names are hidden or collapsed down into initials. So this screen can be displayed while patients are in the room without compromising privacy. Clicking on an item will open it up as it does for charting on other screens as well. We can see from the screen, and we get the same screen on others, that we can accept a payment from a client, we can chart on it, we can update the treatment plan. Some of you may know from the current version that these are all bundled into one package. We have split apart that package now so that the process of accepting a payment, charting, and making updates to the treatment plan are now completely separated. This allows you, for example, when the insurance company is asking for a treatment plan, you can give them just that plan without having to give them a chart note as well. I'd also like to point out that we have an autopilot in Therapy Appointment 2.0, functioning about the same way that the autopilot did in the old version, sounding a tone when the appointment is about to begin to give you time to view your previous notes, sounding a tone again with 1 minute remaining so that you can begin to wrap up the session. And it's a nice color-coded system that allows you to see what's going on from across the room. We're going to get out of the autopilot now, going back to the main screen. I just want to talk about a few more things on that main schedule page. One of them is that if you want to schedule a new appointment, let's say for some reason you wanted to do that on a Saturday, you would simply click in that blank space. Here I'm going to add an appointment for Andrew Appleby, and it's just that easy. Again, very visually simple to schedule and reschedule appointments now compared to the old version of the software. Let's talk about messages now. The message system is another area that's been greatly enlarged in Therapy Appointment 2.0. Whereas in the old system, you could only send the message to one person at a time, or certainly couldn't send a message to both a staff member and a client to have them involved in the same messaging. Now that is possible, that you can add as many people as you like to what will become a message thread. You may be familiar with that from email systems. In the new version of the software, I can add an additional person to the message. We'll do William Jones. Happens to be a client, but it could have been another staff member that I added to that message. Anything now that I create and that goes back and forth on this same topic will be collapsed into a message thread so that you can see the flow of information. You can add another participant in the conversation even after it's already begun if you wanted to invite them later. Some other things about messages that I know you'll be excited about. One of them is that you can now add attachments. When you add an attachment to a message, you have the option, if it's going to a client, of asking for a signature to that attachment. Yes, e-signature is now a part of Therapy Appointment 2.0. We'll show what that looks like on the client end in just a moment. E-signature is a feature that many of you have been asking for some time, and we're proud to be able to offer that now. I'm going to jump back. I realized that I didn't go nearly in depth enough about the charting process in Therapy Appointment 2.0. So let's get back over to the schedule now. And so we have Mr. Jones is on the schedule for today. I'm going to start charting. It's warning me that I'm talking about an appointment in the future. So I'm going to ignore that warning for purposes of illustration. In Therapy Appointment 2.0, we have the familiar forms of chart notes, HIPAA, SOAP, and SIMPLE. I'm going to choose SIMPLE for this now to illustrate one new feature, and that is charting templates. We're going to choose a pre-formatted template called test template here. And what you'll notice when I do that is it's not only entering the text that I've previously entered, but it does a kind of mail merge on that. I have indicated areas in that template for the patient's first name, last name, birth date, the time and date of the session. There's plenty of other things that you can put in, diagnosis, the current CPT code, things of that nature, so that now templates can be more complicated, yet you don't have to type this over and over. They're completed for you. Some other features about charting that I know you'll be excited about. One of them is that in prior versions of the software, if you were in the middle of a very long note and had a power failure at your office, you would unfortunately lose everything that you had charted up to that time. That is not the case in Therapy Appointment 2.0. If you lose power in the middle of a long note, what's going to happen is that everything you typed up until that point will remain, and you'll just log in again and pick up where you left off. A lot less muttering involved in that. So let's see, let's talk about the client portal now. So I'm going to have to change screens for that. Let's see, I have a new share here. So now we've moved over, we're now looking at Therapy Appointment 2.0 from the client perspective. As you see, it's a pretty familiar looking screen now. It looks very much like the way it's formatted for therapists, but of course, vastly different information is displayed. I want to call your attention to the fact that there's a highlighted bullet there on My Documents and Forms. And so I have sent to my client this consent to treatment form. He signs it by clicking on Sign. After a brief pause, the consent to treatment form itself appears. My client can scroll to the bottom and e-sign it. That's it. And with that simple action, the form, now in a signed state, has been placed in the patient chart. No action required on my part at all. That just all happened in the background. I'd also like to point out that this signature process is entirely HIPAA compliant, completely encrypted en route, and it also is completely legal in all 50 states. It's as legally binding as an ink signature. Quick look at the client dashboard again. Notice that it has the future appointments that have already been scheduled there. If I, as a client, want to schedule a new appointment, note, as I said earlier, that he has the choice of saying, I want to schedule this new appointment in the main office or the secondary office. We click on that main office. It's only going to show appointments that are available within that office. It's not going to have him run the risk of showing up at the wrong office. And there you have it. Well, I've just scratched the surface of the features in Therapy Appointment 2.0. The Therapy Appointment 2.0 will have all of the features that are present in the current version. So if you have a favorite feature of 1.0 that you want to make sure is in 2.0, rest assured everything that's in the old version will be present in the new version. And there are a great many enhancements that I didn't have a chance to go over today. We were trying to keep this short for you. But I think at this point, Emily, do we have some questions?
We do. We have a number of questions that have come in from attendees, and we've been trying to answer them in real time as well. But just a few that we can scratch on now while we still have a little bit of time left, about 7 minutes.
Okay.
The first one we're going to answer is, are you still going to be supporting ERAs and EOBs in the new system?
Well, most certainly, since that's a feature that everybody likes. And in fact, each of those has some enhancements now in the new version. The ERA enhancements are a little more difficult to talk about. It's very technical. Basically, in the past, it was a very time-consuming or computer power-consuming process that we have streamlined so that now, in the current version, we can retrieve an ERA within about 48 hours. It's going to be within just a few minutes in the new version, so we're going to be keeping up with the flow of messages to and from Office Ally in a much more rapid fashion in the new version. Something else about EOBs. EOBs in the current version, it can be a kind of a time-consuming process that you get an EOB on paper from an insurance company. You have to then go through patient by patient and switch from patient to patient to record the payments from the insurance company. That could take quite a long time. So we have a rather ingenious version in the new version that says, okay, this insurance check came from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Let's see how many of the patients that have been seen recently with Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance are these likely to be. It does a guess about here's who this check is likely to be paying for. And so you can check off all of that and enter all of that information probably in 1 minute instead of the 15 minutes that it took previously. A big improvement.
Great, and great question. We have gotten a lot of questions about Firefox and compatibility. So do they have to keep using Firefox?
No, you don't. Firefox was my favorite browser in 1.0, and so I rather self-centeredly decided it was going to be everybody's favorite browser. But we now have a new system that's what's called browser agnostic, meaning it'll run equally well on any browser. And by the way, also what's called device agnostic, or also called responsive design. The system detects whether you're using an iPad or a computer with a big screen, a computer with a small screen, or even an iPhone, and it automatically adjusts itself to that device. So for example, if it's on an iPhone, it reorganizes some columns and makes the buttons fatter so that you can click them with your fingers. It's a very cool system. We've been surprised and delighted that it works as well on a phone as it does. You can actually negotiate the system pretty well on a phone going forward.
Great. All right. Next favorite topic, Office Ally. So Office Ally is getting a bit expensive. Have you thought at all about other options?
We have indeed. And for those of you who don't know, Office Ally is our clearinghouse, and they recently announced a rather significant price increase for their services. Sometimes it's charged, sometimes it's not. It's rather complicated to talk about, but for those of you affected by those fees, it went from $20 to $35, and many of you asked, was there another way to do this? So we have been in negotiation with them and have come up with an alternate version. So In the new version of the software, you can either keep using Office Ally as you always have. That's probably going to be the best solution if you have a large and complicated practice. Or if you're in a smaller solo practice, you might opt for what we call our mega account, where we just charge you by the claim at 15 cents a claim. So, you know, instead of $35, let's say you're submitting only 20 claims in a month, then that becomes $3 rather than $35. So we think that's a good option that we'll have available.
Okay, great. We have about 2 minutes left. So the biggest question of all, what is going to happen to current users on 12/15?
Okay, great question, and one probably at the top of everyone's mind. So on 12/15, we're going to turn on the training software, the training site. Here's our thinking, that if we tried to convert everybody, all of our existing customers, all 10,000 of you, on 12/15 simultaneously, there's no way that we would be able to answer all of your questions, giving you the customer service that you've come to expect from us. So we have instead created a training site where on 12/15 you'll all be able to log in using fake data, fake patients. You can put in any name you want for yourself as the practice. And absolutely make sure that you understand how the new system works before you go live with it with real patients and real data. So the idea is that if you run into a problem while you're on the training site, you can put in a question and have the luxury of waiting a few minutes for an answer rather than having a patient standing in front of you looking impatient while you tried to figure out how to use the new system. So it's that training site that goes live on 12/15. Once you are completely comfortable that you understand it, have all your questions answered, then you contact us. We work out together a date for transition to the new system to make sure it's at a time that's not going to interfere with your staff, that you had a chance to train all of your staff. We negotiate on that go live date and convert all of your old data over to the new system at that point.